So right now we open discussion. So how many times we left? 10 minutes? Okay, sure. So one and the second, okay, and the other third, okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Luan and I'm from Vietnam. I come to the conference with my director from Center for Studies and Applied Sciences in Gender, Family, Women and Adolescents. I just have two questions for two ladies in Taipei and for Miss Lee from Hong Kong. For the first question, I know there are many Vietnamese women here in Taiwan. And when you run the shelter for survivors of domestic violence, are there any Vietnamese women in your shelter? And what are the conditions for women to be accepted into the shelter, especially when they can't speak Chinese? And what are the next steps to support these women? For example, after the emergency, you teach them Chinese so that they can communicate with their family-in-law, or when you help them to return to Vietnam, their home countries. And is there any program to cooperate with the Vietnamese government in that? This is my question. And the second question for Ms. Lee in Hong Kong. It's very difficult to define a patient, a victim of sexual violence, especially when they are very ashamed or when they are threatened by the perpetrators. So is there any method or a tool that help you to define survivors of domestic violence in your hospital? And you can share the experience with it, because it's very difficult in Vietnam too to recognize survivors of sexual violence. Thank you so much.
Okay, we take the question, okay? Second.
I'm Zumra from Pakistan. First of all, I would like to thank to all of our presenters for having such informative and productive presentations. My question goes to Lee from Gardner Fow Foundation. Actually, I know and it's a fact that Gardner Fow Foundation is doing excellent in women's rights and women's shelter. Yes, I only want to know that do you have some programs for the women economic empowerment? Because when this woman will leave this shelter after 2 months, after 6 months, again she will have to go to her community. So what skills she will bring with her in order to not to go again in men's hand for economic dependence? Because we do have problems. We are providing so many services to women, but when once she leaves, she don't have any skills to reintegrate in her community. Again, she's going the same situation, and so many times she's coming again and again to shelter the violence.
Yes, very important. My third question.
Hi, I'm Assistant CEO of Push Up in Taiwan, and I have a question to Ms. Mashita. And you said that your worker will talk to the husband who battled her wife and his wife. And I'm wondering if you or your worker face the threat, the threat on the husband, and how you deal with that situation. And second, I have a question to Yu Huang. In your report, you say self in self, and I'm very curious about what it means, because I catch your idea to try to help the victim of the 我讲中文哈，这样你会听得清楚。就你想要你们的机构想要帮助这些妇女去为自己，所以我听到了比较多 self for self for herself， 那 in itself 跟 for itself 是很不一样的意思。所以我是希望可以澄清一下，你要谈这个 in itself 的 in self 的意思是什么？因为感觉跟你的内容不是很搭配。
So right now we answer from the first one you asked her.
好，谢谢越南的朋友哈。我先回答一下有关越南配偶的部分。其实通常外配来到台湾，他们很少就是说来到台湾很短的时间就 就是会选择离开家庭，他们可能还在适应，然后还在生活。那所以其实他们来到台湾，可能通常都是1-2年后，甚至更久。那其实他们的有一些语言的能力，已经稍微可以简单的对谈。只是说，如果要深入的会谈到他真正意思，因为外配的部分会牵扯很多法令啊、法律，要比较 detail 去讲到那个比较精致的一些问题的时候，我们会需要有通译的人员。那这部分的确会需要通译的协助，对。但是的确，我觉得外配的一些资源跟福利，其实相较于台湾籍的妇女，的确是有落差。包括它有很多的一个身份的认定，需要配偶的协助才能够办理。那配偶又是一个相对人或所谓的加害人，那这个部分就会有很多需要社工去协助争取，或者是协助在法的部分帮他有一些转换的有一些处理的部分。对，那其实但是我们发现说，其实外配他们的一个凝聚力很强。就有时候你会透过同样都是一个外配的妇女的姐妹来协助，同样都是外配的妇女。那其实台湾也有一些专门的这样的一些团体在协助这些外配的一些妇女，对，像一些南洋姐妹会，那他们也会提供协助，对，这是目前我们看到的，对。我要不要补充？管有人可以补充这个部分吗？
我对不起，就关于那个越南配偶在台湾的一个困境，我们也没办法讨论太多。但是关于您刚刚的建议，有可能在庇护所这边，我们会增加中文课程的一个设置，可以让他们有比较好的语言的适应能力。这是我们自己在做移工庇护所里这边有做到配偶的部分，可能也会做的部分。
所以，比方说他们来到庇护所之后，就是因为我们附近的现在台湾其实是很关心外籍配偶的一些中文的能力，所以在小学其实有一些中文的课程。那我们有一些那个越南配偶，就是他们在庇护所的时候，我们就让他去附近的小学，就是学上他们的识字班跟中文班，然后呢教他可以考上机车驾照，就是他一定要能够有自己的交通工具，这样其实对他在台湾的生活是会比较适应。那有关他和他原来，我们是不是鼓励他们回越南？基本上我们不做这个事情。那有一个关键是他能够拿到他在台湾的居留权，只要他愿意留在台湾，其实我们就是尽量的协助他，按照他想要的生活的居住地来给他协助。我要回应2个问题，第一个是有关就业的这个部分，就业非常重要，因为他们能不能独立生活，其实他经济的独立性这件事情其实很重要。那我想分2个部分，第一个是他还在庇护所的时候，那立新其实一直有一个，这几年其实我们也发现这个需求，所以我们有一个短期的工坊，就是短期的就业的一个工作的机会。可以让这些妇女，她还在庇护所的时候，她不用到外面找一些比较非常高竞争力的工作，因为她其实是需要适应。所以我们有一个这样子类似准备新就业的职场，让她可以在里面，她有生活费，然后她又可以有一些时间弹性的时间处理她打官司啊，还有她一些其他的要处理的事情。那这个方案大概可以做6个月，最长可以到6个月，有时候也可以到1年，让她可以在比较长的时间可以准备他自己，然后他离开之后，其实我们给他的一些就业的媒合，还有一些就业的协助，其实也很重要。那第2个是有关他找房子这件事情，其实我们也会给他协助。所以有一些房东或者是有一些人，他其实是会提供，很愿意免费提供他的住所，然后就让我们的妇女可以承租。那有些妇女如果她要自己租房子，比方说她一开始要租房子的租押金也是很多钱。 那个地方其实也是觉得要给他协助的，包括申请一些经济补助，然后也给他离院之后大概3个月。一般来讲，其实在政府里面有3个月的那个特进补助，然后如果他需要的时候，其实可以到6个月，就是在都会区里面其实是有这样的协助。那主要就是让他在离开之后不会因为陷入经济的危机就回去。所以怎么样可以在这部分再给他更持续性而且更长期的协助，其实也是我们最近在跟思考的这个部分。那这个副执行长提的这个 self in self 是我个人想出来的，没有错。就是我想表达的是说，因为我们其实常常发现妇女，即便她要离开，决定要离开这个暴力的环境，她会说她为了孩子。我们其实就是她，即便为了她的孩子之外，她自己真正想要的生活是什么？所以我们其实是更从这个角度去来帮助她，包括在她的个别咨商，还有在她的团体里面。很多时候，其实我们就在一些小地方开始问她说：“那做了这件事情，你是为了自己还是为了什么？那你的感觉或你想要的生活是什么？”我觉得是要从这个地方上，不然我们其实又是 copy 了他原来的，复制他原来的模式，就是他从关系里面去找到他自己想要的东西。所以我们其实在很多地方上，我们发现他能够真正自立，为他自己生活这件事情，其实是很重要。所以，因为
B for self 跟 B in self 是不同的概念。我觉得你在谈的其实是 for self， 就是说为 for self。for self 这个东西，那 being in 跟 being for 可能就是那个内容不一样，因为在哲学上是两件事情。我觉得你在谈的是 for， 而不是 in self。对不起，我是诚心的。
忘了把英文主题先给副警长公布一下。
Okay, thanks for the questions of the representative from Vietnam. And in terms of the definitions of sexual violence, basically we understand it as the unwilling behavior from one to another or improper behavior, and must be in the context or form of sex. Such as sexual harassment, where is also such kind of kinds are also included in our services. And in practice, we don't have any tools or any papers to define to help us, but it's totally based on the definition of our client. If someone tells that he or she is harassed or abused by someone in the context of sex, then we will provide our services. In our frontline practice, we know that it is very difficult for our clients to voice out his or her problem. In counseling, at least we should provide half of a year or even a year or even a longer time for them to voice out and speak up their needs or to know their whole story. So the definition, I think, is not very important, but provide them an unconditional trust and let them they are safe to voice out their needs and let them to keep away in a better life. It's okay and it's fine.
Yeah, regarding your questions, I told you this is our 20 years of our existence. So far we have not faced any problems because we have a very strong network in the entire country. So we have all 64 district administrations is in our contract, and all the police superintendent's office all over the country are with our contract. And in addition, we have 1,300 women's NGO who are based in rural areas. All have been trained on these gender and human rights issues and the advocacy skill on how to defend women's human rights in the local level, in the rural areas. In addition, we provided training to the police. We call that capacity building of the police on addressing the gender-based violence issues with gender-friendly and gender-responsive manner. And similar training we provided to all the journalists all over the country. So that we have very strong network. And in addition, we have our strong laws. We call Women and Children Repression Act 2000. And we also have a law to protect women in the domestic violence and environment. Women are entitled to stay even abusing environment, but once she will be filing a case, that court will give her the security to stay at the family, but nobody will be able to hit if they do anything, so they will be directly arrested. So all over the country, we also train to the locally elected representatives of local government on the same issues. And they call the social decrees like shalish, in Bangla called the shalish, that means socially dispute resolution. It's like they call it as a mini court, so called to the both the party, and then negotiation and remediation consultation has been conducted. So in Bangladesh, this is massively happening. It is conducting by the representatives of local government and also representatives of NGOs in the local level. And now police and journalists also have, because government also have a clear policy to reduce the gender-based violence. Because every 5 years they have to submit the CEDAW progressive report, which looks very gloomy. So that's every time the CEDAW committee gives some recommendations on how they should be improving these issues in the local level. We are not afraid, we are very brave. Our extension workers, they are also very brave. Several times they attempted to be acid attack to our social worker, but they are very strong because we recruited a local staff. So in the local area, they have some influences. So the family, relatives, schools, teachers, police, everybody has influences over this. So once they have been, we were assisting or providing the legal aid assistance to rape victims, and the victims were the elected representatives of local government. So we have been run this case for 2 years, 9 months, because 7 times the verdict has been, so trial was been over. Before they declare the verdict, 7 times the stand by the judge has been transferred from one district level to central level. And then, this case, the assaulters, they mobilized some of the political leaders in the local level. So that was our difficult situation. So that's why this case has been lingered for long, but we just didn't give up. We continued. And you will be hearing that there was 109 chairmen of the local union councils, and all the lawyers of this just court was in favor of the assaulters against this woman. So this woman was single, and only our organization was behind her. And then they could not stop anything, we continued, and lastly they were trying to pressurize me to ask the victims to withdraw the case. So they have been going to my relatives, parents, staffs, offices, and political high-level leaders, everybody. But nobody can come in and stand in front of me to request to withdraw the case. So once I was, traveling by the car, then I found a group of political leaders in the local level was standing in the side and, indicated to stop my car. So immediately I just get down to the car and I said, well, what is the reasons? He said, madam, they do like this. And so, madam, can you help this woman, ask this woman to withdraw the case? Then immediately, I was prepared. Then I said, do you think I was being raped? And since I was eating this being raped by myself, everybody moved on. Because it's very ashamed, because women never, use this kind of word in the public. So all these men was very ashamed that I was thinking whether, as you are requesting me to ask to the victims to withdraw the case, why didn't you do it directly to her? And they are not, brave enough to directly ask this woman to withdraw the cases. Then said, okay, this woman was raped in the locality. I was 210 kilometers away from the area. So it is you, the people, should know that she was raped, and you should negotiate in the local level, and you should punish. As a political representative, so you have the responsibility to give the protection of elected women representatives in the local level. It's not an ordinary woman, it's not a family violence, it was a gang rape, because she was the chair of one of the sanitary electricity distribution committee, and she has her own list. She wanted to give this latrines to the women, female head is household of the women, but they have listed the rich people's house to be distributed to the tribals. This woman said, no, I am the chair of the committee, so my decision should be final. So that is why they took a paper, went to her house at 8 o'clock night, so forced her to sign. She said, no, I'm not going to sign. So that in front of her two children, one was 13 years old, another was 8 years old. In front of these two children, she was gang raped by 5 persons.
So that's why we were really take these cases very seriously, and they had a lot of political threats that came out, and some other allies of mine, our organization has been declined. Finally, we only was alone, so we were in the state. Then finally, in the two governments, then finally I applied to the Amnesty International. So Amnesty International sent an order to the Prime Minister. So they said, you should take this case very seriously and show there is a one woman getting the proper justice against this kind of physical violence. So the Prime Minister also was committed, and they will ensure the justices. But the one government was over. So when the second government came, so then Amnesty International, the last General Secretary was Irene Khan. She was from Bangladesh. And she was visiting to Bangladesh, and she was asking me whether this case was over. I said no, it was like that. Then she said, okay, I'm going to meet the Prime Minister. And she was new, the another government's Prime Minister. Then she agreed, okay, we will look after this case, make sure that she will get the justice. And then after 2 years, 9 months, with a lot of threats to different level to the victims and to us, and also there was a bombs in our office in the local level, and fortunately there was no casualty. So you can imagine one single woman to get the justice against being raped illegally. How many years is taking, what kind of energy, resources, and time we have to spend for one woman to get the justice against sexual violence. So when we conduct the counseling with the men, so we put both the party together. So we kind of mediate and ask the questions to the family members and the men as well, because we refer a lot of the laws exist in favor of against the violence against women, and it's a government law. So we try to do this negotiation and consultation with non-threatening way. And they know, so they are obliged, and there is a government law, so if they do not really listen to us, so this will go to the court. So, and our organization will really follow up the cases, not the women. So that's what.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so time is limited, so I have to close this section. So, but don't worry about, because tomorrow we will continue to talk about the strategy and the management. So, see you tomorrow. Okay, and do you have the end?
Thank you for all speakers and moderators, Ms. Qi. 大会报告，这是几件重要的事情。第一个，明天早上9点半，我们的会议将开始，请各位准时。